All right. All right. Rate the Emperor. What is up? Happy New Year to you as well. What is up, everybody? It is your boy, Lincoln Clay, coming back at you. You know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the bell icon. The rest will take care of itself. If you are a new subscriber, welcome aboard. And so I'm just waking up from a power nap. I was about to do some kind of game stream on the PlayStation, but then I saw a video from Weapon Wheel Podcast talking about a rumored Navy Seal Socom for the next generation. Mr. Pyle, what is up? How are you? So yeah, this comes courtesy of the Weapon Wheel Podcast. I guess some Teddit, or I don't know what his name was. You have to check the video out. According to Weapon Wheel Podcast, this Teddit or whoever this person is has been right before in the past, and this person is saying that they are in the early stages of developing a Navy SEAL SOCOM for the next generation. And Rate the Emperor, you're saying that it's true. You hope it's true. I'm going to give a number of reasons why I think something like that would make sense. I think it would make a lot of sense. And, my reasons for wanting this to be true, you can guess why, but so I think that there are a number of possibilities for something like that, so again, I got to give, I'm a person that when I talk about something that's been rumored or anything that I talk about, always name where I got it from, because I'm definitely not a person that tries to steal somebody's material or that kind of thing. So this comes courtesy of the Weapon Wheel Podcast. So you guys can, do the legwork to track down that video. If you are a subscriber of the Weapon Wheel Podcast, you probably already got the alert about this, but here's my reasons for thinking why something like this makes sense. First of all, Weapon Wheel Podcast said he doesn't like rumors because the game, the way he made it sounded like the game broke his heart, because after SOCOM 2, I guess he felt the rest of them were garbage. People were trying, mods, individual, indie companies, indie people were trying to make the game, make their own version of the game. The game has been on the Vita or what have you. And the way he made it sound, it was all garbage. But here's why I think something like this could be true and why I think it makes a lot of sense. First of all, there has been, there was a rumor going around this year that Sony was supposedly going to bring back, an old IP. And this isn't the first time that rumor came up about it possibly being Navy SEAL SOCOM. So, that rumor was out there, I believe, a couple of months ago. And I was like, okay, if they bring that back, that would be cool. I think it would make a lot of sense, because depending on how Sony would plan to market this game, it could be a system seller. And from my standpoint, if they decide to include VR in it, it would be a VR seller. Because when rumors first came up before about Sony bringing back an old franchise and Navy SEALs being one of them, the first thing that popped in my head is that if they were to bring that game back and they were to include a VR mode in it, that would be a can't miss. And when you stop and think about it, one thing he did say, Weapon Wheel did say that Sony doesn't really have a go-to game. For as good as they are with all these single player games, they don't really have a go-to multiplayer game, which for the most part is true. I mean, as far as first-person shooter goes, right now, the best first-person shooter game, as far as I'm concerned, that's a Sony exclusive that you can get would be Firewall for the PlayStation VR. Because other than that, I think the only other, if you want to call them shooters, they're definitely not first-person shooters. They're more like third-person shooters. And that's the multiplayer mode on Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy, as well as the multiplayer mode on The Last of Us, which, you know, is a last-gen game, even though it's been remastered. So they don't have a go-to game. When you stop and think about everybody else, you know, EA has Battlefield, Ubisoft has Rainbow Six, Activision has Call of Duty and Destiny, Microsoft has Gears of War and Halo. You know, all the big publishers have some kind of first-person shooter game. Sony does not. You know, and as far as the multiplayer mode of the Uncharted and The Last of Us, I really don't really consider those first-person shooters. To me, they're just add-ons that the campaign was the main focus of the game and the multiplayer was just an add-on. It's not, you know, when you think of Uncharted, you do not think of the multiplayer. Socrates, what's up? Happy New Year. When you think of the Uncharted, even The Last of Us, you do not think of the multiplayers of those games. The first thing pops in your head is the campaigns. So with that being said, as far as I'm concerned, the only first-person shooter that Sony has right now that's exclusive is Firewall. You know, and even though this has been a rumor for a while that Sony might be bringing back Navy Seal Socom, I wonder if it's possible if the success of Firewall might have influenced that decision, if it's true that they are working on it. So give me a second, folks. Now, moving into the next generation, you know, assuming Navy SEAL SOCOM is coming out for the next generation, um, I think how well the game could do depends on what Sony wants to do with it. A new Clay Year, Players United, what's up? If it's true that they are going to do a Navy SEAL SOCOM, to me, the big question is it only going to be on the PS5 or is it going to be on the PS5 and the PS4? I think that if you only had that game on the PS5, I think it would be a PS5 system seller. But if you allow the game to be on the PS4, it will sell way more copies, being that there's already 90 million PS4s out there. So I would like to think that Sony is aware. Well, of course they're aware of that. I guess it's just a matter of what they want to do. I mean, they know what's going on. So, but I think if you come out with another SOCOM, I think you get the best version. You get the best version of the game on the PS5. So that could sell a few units there. It's definitely going to sell some units on the PS4. And then people who were extremely loyal to SOCOM, they're going to be the first people to jump up and buy this game. And then if you do what I'm hoping they would do and add a VR mode to this game, then I'm definitely going to buy it. So I think the possibilities for this game to do well is there. I mean, look how long when the PS3 came out, look how long Sony supported the PS2. When the PS4 was out, the PS4 is out, look how long they supported the PS3. So I don't expect next generation to be any different. When the PS5 comes out, I expect Sony to support the PS4 for years to come. But with that being said, the game has the possibility to do well. People who own a PS5 will probably buy it because um, it could very well be the only first person shooter that's a Sony exclusive on the PS5. They'll buy it. A lot of people on the PS4 will buy it. People who are loyal to the SOCOM franchise will buy it. And if there's a VR mode, I will buy it. So there's a lot of possibilities there for the game to do well. And I guess people have been, wanting this game. They've been calling for this game to come back. So it makes a lot of sense. Ian Robinson, what's up? And yeah, and when you go back to the beginning, Saris is great. What's up? I played the very first Navy Seal Socom that was on the PS2. I never owned the PS2. How this came about was around the time that the first Navy SEALs game was out. Ghost Recon was out on the original Xbox. I had the original Xbox, but I did not have a PS2. So I was playing Ghost Recon, and I played Navy SEAL SOCOM, and I think one of the big glaring differences between the two games was that Ghost Recon was true first person, was a first person view, whereas Navy SEALs was third person. It was a third person shooter, and see, on the first Ghost Recon, there was no gun sticking out. There was just the reticle in the center of the screen, which was fine with me. I still enjoyed the game. I still thought the first Ghost Recon on the original Xbox was amazing. So what happened was I ended up taking my Xbox over to a friend's house, and at that time, since Xbox was still a fairly new console, a lot of people had PS2s. They were still loyal to the PS2. So when I took my Xbox over to a friend's house, they were not feeling Ghost Recon. Everybody was playing SOCOM over there. And then when we switched up and started playing Madden, even though they were the exact same game, nobody wanted to touch my Xbox. They didn't want to play Madden on my Xbox. They were all lining up to play it on the PlayStation at my friend's house. And I'm like, I don't get it. I was like, these games are exactly the same. They look exactly the same. They play exactly the same. But I think at that time they were loyal to the PlayStation, and they were screaming that the PlayStation controller was better. So, but myself, back to those two shooters, SOCOM and Ghost Recon. I like Ghost Recon better. Now, I did not play SOCOM 2. I do not remember which SOCOM game was on the PS3, but I do remember that it was garbage. One of my friends who at the time was blindly loyal to the PlayStation brand insisted. He said, man, you got to get SOCOM. He was like, man, the game is hot. It's got, great graphics, blah, blah, blah. I picked the game up and it was trash. It played horrible. It moved slow. The game seemed to, I don't know if I can remember correctly. It seemed like it had frame rate issues. And then the most glaring part of the game was that the graphics were horrible. The graphics, looked like some PS2 shit. And so I got rid of the game just as quickly as I bought it. And that was the last time I played any kind of SOCOM game. But now, I think you got I don't know what the call of Chahulu, whatever that is supposed to be, and Darrison. Yeah, Darrison was a game that I was curious about. You say, "Oh my God, if this is true, PS5 day one." I'm thinking that's me. See, I wouldn't doubt it if this game is being developed for the PS5, but I don't think it'll be ready day one for the PS5, especially if I'm sticking to my prediction that the PS5 is coming out in November of 2019. I don't think the game will be ready by then. I don't think the game will be ready until after. And if I had to guess, I don't think the game would be ready until 2020, 2021 at the earliest. He said, I remember the finding matches was terrible on SOCOM 3. Yeah. You know, given the success of Battlefield, it's really a shame that MAG didn't do well on the PS3. A massive action gaming, where up to 240 players could play. I played it before, um, but the thing that I remember that the thing I didn't like about the game, first it felt weird. The game felt weird because if I'm not mistaken, back then Sony, did their controls different than everybody else. While everybody else had the right trigger for the fire button, Sony was using the right bumper as a fire button. So Sony was going ass backwards with their controllers. So that was one of the reasons why the game felt weird to me. And then the other problem I had with MAG was that at least the mode that I played, no matter where you spawned at, it spawned you right in the middle of a firefight. It was just bullets flying everywhere. So it was like every time you spawn, your first order of business was to try to stay alive and get the cover before you start trying to shoot back. Socrates, you said, for me, PS5 is day one just for GT Sport free update version. Yeah. There's no particular game for me while the PS5 is a day one purchase for me. It's a day one purchase for me. There's a number of games that I absolutely can't wait to see on the PS5. I can't wait to see what they have. You said MAG would be great during this battle royale phase. Absolutely, Alabama Jones. Not to mention that, any first person shooter game, to me, the possibility of that game being in VR, I think I'm hoping that next generation that there's no first person shooter game out there that can't be done in VR. I mean, right now we're limited by the hardware. Mr. Pyle, you say games like God of War 2 and Spider-Man 2 are coming. So PS5 day one, absolutely. Games like God of War 2, the next Spider-Man, the next Horizon Zero Dawn. It may not happen immediately, but I'm sure that'll probably be another Uncharted, at some point next generation. And then you have MLB The Show, which I can't wait to see what that'll look like next generation. I think there's a possibility. Uncompetitive, what's up? I think there's a good possibility that there could be another Killzone next generation. And now you throw SOCOM into the mix. You said Uncharted 5 and his daughter's the main one. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that because it's setting the tone. They introduced you to the daughter, so they're setting the tone for the daughter to take over. I'm led to believe that whenever the next Uncharted comes out, that the story will be centered around the daughter, but Nathan and his wife will probably be along for the adventure, and then the next Uncharted that comes out after that, she'll probably be out on her own. Alabama Jones, you almost bought MLB 18 today, but might just wait them 3 months till yeah, I would probably agree with that because in my opinion, unless you could get MLB The Show for like $10, um, I mean, I'm guessing right now that it probably costs about $20. And it's a great game. I absolutely love it, but I just don't. It's $12. Well, I have the game Alabama Jones. If the game is $12, okay, you know what I mean? When you look at it that way, I do think $12 is worth it because look at EA with Madden. I mean, hell, we're on Madden 19 right now, am I right? But Madden 18 probably still costs $20. Same thing with the 2K game. We're definitely into NBA 2K 2K19 right now. 2K18 probably still costs $20. So for MLB The Show to cost $12, I think it would be worth it. And the game absolutely looks amazing. This is absolutely crazy. Um, Sometimes, well, I would pop in MLB The Show and I would get ready to play it. And if you don't play it after a few minutes, the game goes into demo mode. And I would just sit there and watch the demo mode just so I could sit there and be blown away by the amazing graphics, the vivid colors, because the colors are just so vivid in the game, the HDR, all that stuff. So I think that if you are a baseball fan, a hardcore baseball fan, even if you would only get 3 months use out of the game, I think $12 is a fair asking price, even if you would only use it for 3 months. So Players United, my whole point and all that, I see what you're saying about Madden 20 coming out on August 20th. My whole point and all that is that when a new game comes out, the previous year, that game still costs $20. I mean, it doesn't drop down to like okay, Madden 19 right now, the current Madden is out. That game's not going to drop down to like 10 or $15 until like 5 years from now. So with that being said, I do think I do think that MLB The Show for $12 right now is worth it. But I think anybody who's a hardcore baseball fan already has the game. If you wait this late to even think about getting this game, then I'm wondering if you're a true baseball fan or not. So you said you somehow only see spinoff Uncharted, no more main ones. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's my whole point. Players United, Madden, not just Madden, 2K with the 2K franchises. They keep those games, those prices overinflated for God knows how long. He says still playing 17 and they removed online franchises in 18. I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, they should be shutting it down. It probably costs money to keep those servers running on an old game that nobody's playing. I mean, right now, what, the playoffs start this week? So the football season is going to be over in a couple of months. And then I'd imagine that once the football season, the real NFL season is over, numbers are going to start dwindling on how many people play Madden, because there's a lot of people out there that think like I do, that like to play sports games when they're in season. I was never that type of person that would play a baseball game in the middle of January, and I wouldn't play a football game in April. Yeah, Madden's $30 right now. And it's probably going to stay at that price for a while. I don't think Madden 19. I don't think Madden 19 is going to drop down to $20 until the new one comes out. I think the game might remain $30 throughout the off season. You said Sony shutting down the servers on an old game. So, hey, if the games, they know what's going on better than we do. If numbers show that people's not playing the games, then it might be the better move to go ahead and shut the game down. I mean, hell, that used to be, Microsoft's intentions. When the 360 came out, Microsoft shut down the original Xbox, I think only a couple of years after the 360 came out, because their intentions were to shut down the original Xbox to force people to upgrade to the 360. And I think they had the same plan for the Xbox One, because I remember seeing articles that they were saying that, Microsoft was going to shut down support on the 360 like maybe 2 years into the generation. But because of how the Xbox One flopped in the beginning, they had to keep those 360 servers alive. So that's the biggest reason why a lot of these 360 games are still alive, is because the Xbox One flopped. Microsoft's intentions was to shut that shit down and make everybody upgrade to the Xbox One. Garuda, you said people need to stop asking for SOCOM. The best you can get is H hour. Where were those Sovan plebs? What the hell? You lost me on that one. Jamal Adams, what's up? Backwards compatible. If they shut that down, they're going to lose a lot of people playing Call of Duty. Yeah. But I think a game has a better chance to survive on the PlayStation, as far as I'm concerned, than the Xbox in terms of longevity and how long they support the game. There's way more people over on the PlayStation than they play games. Over on the Xbox, they don't play games like that. They just talk shit, but they don't really play games like that. You said you had someone compare PUBG to SOCOM. Oh my God. So, but again, I think, if they do bring back SOCOM, it's a can't miss. And not only that, so according to this rumor, this person is saying that SOCOM would be an online game. It would be a tactical shooter, something similar to Rainbow Six, which would be right up my alley, because to me, tactical shooters are more realistic versus shit like Call of Duty, where you're just running all over the place shooting. It's just some fast-paced shit. I pretty much consider, Call of Duty like an arcade shooter, because you're just running around all over the place at a fast-ass pace. I think that Battlefield is in between that. I think it's in between a tactical shooter and a run and gun shooter. I think the biggest reason that Battlefield is a little bit more tactical is because of how big the maps are, and the vehicles, the destructible environment, all that stuff, adds a bit of strategy to the game. What Call of Duty is pretty simple. It's just run all over the place and just shoot everybody. When somebody calls in some kind of strike, get indoors, because there's no destructible environment on Call of Duty. Once they get done with their strike, once the strike is over, the missile strike or whatever it is, you can run back outside, start shooting again. Guy Code, if you want realism, then play a Firepoint. I'm thinking you mean Firewall. Yeah, the Firewall is a tactical shooter, and I love it. And with that being said, I think another reason why the time is right for them to go ahead and bring SOCOM back is that I think the success of Firewall could have had maybe has an influence on it, possibly. I think the groundwork could be laid on how to build a good tactical shooter. Games like Rainbow Six, Firewall. I think those kind of games laid the groundwork on how to build a successful tactical shooter. Cyber Dragon, what's up? Happy New Year to you. Also, want to inform everybody that one of the reasons why I decided to go ahead and have this podcast today is, number one, it looks like we are going to do the roundtable podcast tonight. Draco and Thrash are definitely down to do it, so it looks like we're going to go ahead and do the roundtable tonight. El Matador, what is up? Also, being that I'm back in the gym now, the next 2 days I'm going to be in the gym, Wednesday and Thursday. So chances are I won't be having any podcasts again, possibly until Friday. So I'll probably have a podcast on Friday and get that out of the way before we do the roundtable podcast. And then Saturday, Saturday, play it by ear, see how that day goes. But I'll definitely plan on doing a Sunday morning podcast when I wake up. And remember, this is just, the Sunday morning podcast. This is just until Sick gets back. So when Sick comes back and we fire up the PlayStation Plus podcast, we'll go from there, whether or not I continue to do Sunday podcast or not. Oh, you said you meant Operation Flashpoint? It's the most strategic shooter I've ever played. Operation Flashpoint, I'm guessing that must be a PC game, Guy Code, because I'm not familiar with it. You said El Matador, maybe Guerrilla Games might make it. Since they're devs from Six Rain, the developers from Rainbow Six. Yeah, that's a strong possibility right there, El Matador. You know what? I think when we had this conversation before, I think their name might have came up, that they could be gathering these devs to work on the next SOCOM. It seems like that rumor came up a while ago. My original thought was that when they grabbed some of these Rainbow Six developers, my original thought was that they are grabbing these guys to get ready for the next Killzone. And it led me to believe that the next Killzone was probably going to be more of a tactical game. And I also felt like, and I still feel this way, that the next, if they do another Killzone, that the game could have a VR mode to it. So Socrates, you said from Cold Masters, Flashpoint. I don't know. Assuming I still buy this gaming PC here in a couple of months, then I'll have to talk to you guys about what games are must-haves, because there's 8 trillion PC games out there. And I don't want to buy these cult games. I don't want to go buy these games that people say are good, and then you buy the game and then find out that it's got like 100 loyal followers and that's it. I don't want to buy these multiplayer games and nobody's playing them. J-Dog, I'm curious what will be the big VR games this year that we don't know about, or will there be any? We got Ace Combat 7 coming up, January 18th, 17 days from now. We still got Blood and Truth coming. And then Warzone, that was supposed to come out this year, I know it's still coming. I think Polish Paul said something about some kind of early access beta or something like that. I don't know, coming January 25th. I don't know if it's going to be an open or a closed beta. That's another game that I'm still looking forward to, because that is a game that's supposed to have, wide scale combat, maps so big that that's going to have vehicles in it, 50 players, a VR first person shooter of that magnitude. And it's supposed to be cross play with Oculus and Vive. That kind of game, I think, could be huge. So that's another game that I'm still looking forward to. Disappointed that it didn't come out this year like it was supposed to. I don't know what's going on with Alvo. That game was supposed to be a 3-on-3 first-person shooter. The developers to that game was, they were in contact with PSVR Frank, letting him speak for the community as to what people wanted in this game. How much would they be willing to pay for this game? What kind of weapons that they want in this game? What kind of mechanics that they want in this game? And that was the last of it. I didn't hear any more about it anymore. I'm really, J-Dog, I'm really, really curious about the VR part of Dreams, because I'm curious if you're going to be able to create your own VR games. Because if you can create your own VR games, that's definitely a pickup for me. Because, it's going to be people creating a lot of games. Basically, it's going to be a gateway to 1 trillion games. Because, a lot of people are going to get this game. And I think I can't remember who said it, but this game, to me, is going to be an opportunity for people who are aspiring to be developers. This is their chance to get in there and make a game and probably get discovered, by Sony or whoever. Because you think Sony's going to make a game like that that's going to allow people to make their own games, and Sony's not going to be watching who's doing what. I think Sony's going to be watching Dreams to see what the most popular games are. And I think some of these people who are talented that's going to be, making their own games on Dreams, some of these people are going to be extremely talented. And I think it's going to be an opportunity for some of these people, because I think Sony's going to be watching this game. I think Sony's going to be watching for people who are making their own games, and, and might pluck a couple of them out of there. I think it's an opportunity for some people. You said Astrobot sequel is in the works. I wouldn't see why not, because when you think of PlayStation VR, Firewall and Astrobot are the first 2 games that come to mind. They're system sellers, so they have to do those. Astrobot, they definitely have to do a sequel of Astrobot. Since Firewall is primarily a first-person shooter game, I don't think they would have to develop another one for a while. They can just continue to support the game by adding DLC. But that's another reason why I'm thinking that Socom could be a strong possibility for the PlayStation 5, because if they add a VR mode to it, you might be able to call that Firewall Part 2, so there's a lot of possibilities there. Saris is great. What is up? Still would like, Red Storm to revive the classic PC Rainbow Six and Rogue Spear series. Say, God, I miss those classics. I don't think I ever played those. See, I never really played. Craig Harris, Mass Effect would be better. You know what, Craig? I'm sure you're well aware of people like EA, Activision. I'm sure you're aware that their stocks are plummeting. So I'm actually wondering if there'll be another Mass Effect, being that this one flopped. With their stocks plummeting, sure, EA still got a lot of dough, but I think the way the stocks are plummeting, I don't think they can just jump up and just greenlight any old project. I think they're going to have to pick and choose which projects they're going to greenlight. And I said it before, if Anthem flops, I don't think EA is going to take any more chances on new franchises. I think they're going to go the Microsoft route and just stick with their bread and butter. The only games you're going to see coming from them is FIFA, Madden. I think they might give Battlefield one more try and just keep their mouth shut and don't, set people off. I don't know what other games coming from EA might be heavy hitters, but I think that's going to be, I think if Anthem fails, I think FIFA and Madden are the only guaranteed games that's going to keep coming from them. because the majority of the money that they made off of microtransactions came off of FIFA. So with that being said, yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if there's going to be another Mass Effect. That's hey, that might be a good topic for you to talk about, Craig, on one of your podcasts. Whether you think there'll be another Mass Effect or not. J Dog, a big GT Sport VR update would be sweet, or more VR racing games like Drive Club, but even better. I've said that a number of times, J Dog, that I think that if you're talking about a VR multiplayer on GT Sport, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen until the next one comes out. Now, here's the thing: when the PS5 comes out, it's going to have enough power that they could send an update through there and allow VR multiplayer, but it would alienate it. It would alienate everybody that's still on the PS4. So I don't know how that would go. I don't know how Sony would approach that. Socrates, he said, "You're right, Lincoln. Enter EA remasters, from ME, which I'm, to Dragon Age." Said, keep asking for SOCOM Confrontation 5, the trash online. Hey, Garuda Legends, I was saying that I think that there's enough. So I think there's enough first person shooter games out there. According to this rumor that, this Navy Seal Socom, this next one would be a tactical shooter, something similar to Rainbow Six. And I think between Rainbow Six and hell, since a lot of Firewall was taken from Rainbow Six. So I will admit Ubisoft laid the groundwork for a great tactical shooter with Rainbow Six. I think Rainbow Six is an amazing game. I just don't like the way Ubisoft is throwing this, season pass shit at it. That's the only part of this game I don't like. But Rainbow Six is an amazing game. So Anthem, I don't know. I didn't really care for Destiny. So I'm definitely, if I didn't care for Destiny, I'm definitely not in a hurry to buy a game that's supposed to be the Destiny killer. So, so if EA releases a Battlefield 3 remastered or Battlefield Bad Company 2 remastered, all will be okay. But hey, it's like I said, Alabama Jones, the way their stocks are plummeting, I don't know if they, I don't know how quick they're going to just jump up and greenlight any old project. I think right now I think they might be at that Microsoft stage that they probably won't greenlight a project unless they know for a fact that shit's going to make money. You said you can't get the operating system to work. Oh shit. Craig, some of the stuff that you're going through, I think that's another reason why I'm, leaning, debating heavily about buying a PC versus building one. Because, who knows if you're having a compatibility issue, like what the parts that's in it, who knows? God knows what whatever it is, I'm sure you'll get it figured out. Socrates, Mass Effect to Dragon Age. Anyway, I'm a first person, first Mass Effect was just Dragon Age 1 with sci-fi skin. Benefit for Microsoft need for exclusive. Yeah. You said you're going to have it done next week, Craig. All right. So yeah, that was like when I get the if I buy a computer in a couple of months here when I get my taxes back, there's a couple of computers that I was looking at, Yeah, I know. I built a computer once about 10 years ago. I built a computer. Rather, a dude that I worked with, he came over and helped me with it. He started out doing it, and I was like, "Look, here, let me do it." You tell me what to do and let me do it. So he probably built about 40% of the computer, and I built the other 60%. But when it came time to boot that thing up and get it running and shit like that, he did all of that because I had a fake copy of Windows that I had gotten from a friend. And so I guess, so to speak, the fake copy of Windows I had, I think it didn't have some kind of like digital fingerprint or some shit like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was anyway, it was a fake copy of Windows. So shit, I think I had put 12 gigs in that computer. I think I had a 1 terabyte hard drive. Shit, I can't remember what kind of processor I had in it because the guy who helped me build it, sent me a list and was like, order all this shit. Craig, I don't know if SOCOM is coming. You might know that better than I do, being that your source, Luwafa, has information within the industry. I don't know if you're asking me that or if you kind of confirming that so-called rumor. Because I seen a video from a Weapon Wheel podcast that I guess some insider, Tepid or whatever his name is, I don't know. According to this person, they're in the early stages of developing a Navy Seal Socom for the next generation. So all I'm doing is just commenting while I think something like that would make sense because I think that would be a big hit. What? You say it's only a few weeks away from completing? Mm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, according to Weapon Wheel, PC. Hmm. Well, according to Weapon Wheel, wherever this source came from, said they're in the early stages of SOCOM. So you need the Soul Stone. Okay. Well, yeah, I think SOCOM I think could be huge for the next generation. We already know the loyal SOCOM people who've been starving for this game to come back. They're going to be the first people to buy it. If they add a VR mode, then I'll be right alongside them buying that game. And then, like Weapon Wheel said, Sony does not have a go-to game. Especially with a multiplayer first-person shooter, they don't have a go-to game. And I said it before. Microsoft's got Halo and Gears. EA has Battlefield. Activision has Destiny and Call of Duty. So Sony doesn't have a go-to game. Right now, with Sony, their best first-person shooter game is Firewall, the VR game. With PS3 graphics. Still an amazing game, though. So, just in time for Metro. That game looks amazing. I don't know if I'll get it though, but doggone does it look amazing. I don't know the way things are these days with Metro. I might wait and see how the game does when it launches. If the game doesn't do very well, then I might sit back and wait for the game to go on sale. See if it takes a hit the way Battlefield 5 did. If the game does great, we'll have to see. You said the loyal SOCOM fans defended H-Hour. This new SOCOM is a myth, especially since they lost the SOCOM devs, the facepalm. But hey, just because they lost, devs that were on this game before doesn't mean that if they can't bring them back, this game won't happen. When Microsoft and Epic parted ways on Gears of War, shit, that didn't stop them from bringing somebody else in to keep making the game. And then if the game is going to be a tactical shooter, something similar to Rainbow Six, who's to say that, I think there's a possibility that Guerrilla Games could be the ones that's working on it, since they plucked a few of the Rainbow Six developers. Since they plucked a couple of them, it's very well possible that they might be the ones working on this. Who knows? So, Guerrilla Legends, I don't know if it will happen. I'm just saying, I think that if they were to do it, it would make sense. I think it would be a hit. I mean, why not? Look how well Shadow of the Colossus did. And as a matter of fact, I remember when Shadow of the Colossus first launched, because of how well that game did, and people were screaming for Sony to bring back some more of these old games. SOCOM was one of the names that people was hollering that they would love to see come back. You say it won't be SOCOM, it will be SOCOM by name only. I mean, is God of War the same God of War that it was? From a developer standpoint, I've never played any of the other God of War games, but I know people was definitely hollering about it not being a jump button. I know people was hollering about this being a different Kratos and that kind of stuff, but look how well the game did. Andrew Wilkins, you said about Xbox fans say Sony fans don't like multiplayer games. I disagree. You say Ian Robinson, this is the year of Ghost of Tsushima. I said it before, Ian. Sony's got a big 2019 coming up. This year is going to be huge for Sony. And people might call me crazy for saying this, but out of all the exclusives that Sony has planned for this year, Death Stranding is at the bottom of my list. I'm going to get it, but it's at the bottom of my list in terms of games that I'm excited about. First and foremost, I'm most excited about The Last of Us 2, with Ghost of Tsushima coming a close second. Then Days Gone. Probably Shenmue 3. And then not to mention the VR games that I'm excited about, Blood and Truth. Ace Combat 7 will be here in a couple of weeks. You said Sony fans enjoy multiplayer. Multiplayer. Xbox fans don't enjoy single player unless it's theirs. Yeah. Yeah, Patient Fire. That Ace Combat 7. I originally said that I was only interested in the game for the VR missions, but I am going to go ahead and play the campaign as well, and I'm going to finish it too, because I need to have that knocked out before the next, before the first Sony exclusive launches. Andrew Wilkins, you're getting Ace Limited Edition day one. I don't know about the limited edition, especially being that I'll be buying it. The only way I will buy a limited edition moving forward is if it's a physical disc. You said Ace Combat 7 and GT Sport are the reasons I bought a PSVR in the first place. You know, as far as the VR part of GT Sport, it's disappointing that they don't have VR multiplayer, but I still like it, even though, you know, you're doing time trials and that kind of stuff. I really do like it. So Ace Combat is the Gran Turismo of air combat games. You know, around the time that the very first Ace Combat came out, there was a game on the Xbox called Over G. The game consisted of a lot of missions. You had to complete these missions to unlock other planes because if you went online with the standard planes that they gave you, those planes were basically obsolete. You had to play these missions to unlock better games. The F-14 Tomcat is one of the most famous planes, in history. But on that game Over G, the Tomcat was basically an old obsolete game. It was slower. I think like that F-18 Hornet or something like that was a much better plane. It was faster, it maneuvered better. The radar had more range on it. This Over G was a pretty slick game. That is definitely a game that I would love to see come back, is Over G. The online mode of this game, you could choose to take off from a carrier or take off from the base, and you would basically fly to the enemy side, and basically you would either bomb their base, bomb their carrier, or engage in dogfights with players on the other side. Against live players, you could engage in dogfights. The object of the game was to bomb, to either blow up the base or blow up the carriers. Once you run out of missiles, you fly back to the base, get refueled, get restocked with weapons, and take off for your next mission. The fucked up part about Over G was that people were like exploiting the game, because once they ran out of missiles, they would deliberately crash the plane so they could respawn at the base, because they didn't want to fly all the way back, because it took too long to fly all the way back. It was much faster to just crash the plane and then respawn at the base. But Over G, my God, that is a game that I would love to see come back. And if that was a game that were to come back and it would come back in VR, oh my God, I swear to God, that would be a system seller. If they were able to make that game exactly like it was back then in VR, that would be a system seller. I promise you. You said F-14 Tomcat is legendary. One of my favorite planes, especially after Top Gun. The F-14 Tomcat was my favorite plane way before Top Gun came out, because I just like the thought of the plane having double rear wings, and seeing all the missiles that plane carried. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Ace Combat 7. Somebody asked me if I was gonna get that HOTAS controller or something like that for Ace Combat 7. That's there was a controller for $80 that I saw at Best Buy. Basically, what's gonna happen is when a game comes out, if I like it, if I like the VR missions that much, then it would be all the more immersive to get that HOTAS controller. Then yeah, I'll go get it. So Impatient Fire, you said I've been playing Fight Sims since before the PS1 was even a thing. I used to play Flight Sims on PC. Games like Jane's F-15s were my shit back in the old PC days. So I'd imagine Ace Combat 7 is going to be a day one purchase for you then. See, this Ace Combat 7 is really going to be the first time that I played the Ace Combat 7 because, like I said, when the first Ace Combat 7 came out, the first Ace Combat came out, the game that I mentioned, Over G, had came out first, and I thought Over G was the better game. Over G didn't really have a campaign; it just had missions that you had to complete to unlock, to unlock better planes. Whereas Ace Combat had an actual story to it. So, but I still thought Over G was the better game. And I'm telling you right now that if those two games existed today, Ace Combat 7 and an Over G, I would buy Over G over Ace Combat 7. That's just how dope I thought that game was. Then the crazy part about Over G, you had to land a plane like a real plane. If you like 50,000 feet up, you couldn't just nosedive down to the bottom and try to land. You had to descend like it was a real, like it was a real plane. You had to start descending way before you got to the base. And if you came in, like when you finally touched down on the ground, if you came in too fast, basically you were going to hit something, you were going to run out of road, whatever the case may be. So Over G was the shit. It was just that one glitch that one exploit that people were taking advantage of on as far as online goes. You said I hot my flight stick. I assume you mean that you have your flight stick and hold us ready for Ace Combat 7 already. Okay, like I said, Impatient Fire, when a game comes out, especially the VR part, if the VR missions are so cold, if I like them that much, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop playing the game, and then I'm going to go buy this controller, and I'm not going to touch it again until I get this controller. So I'm going to play the game day one. And if I like it that much, like let's say I play the first mission, because I heard there's supposed to be like 10 VR missions on this game. I play the first VR mission. If I end up liking it that much and it ends up being that immersive and that realistic, that first mission is all I'm going to play, and then I'm going to go out and get that controller, and I'm not going to touch the game until I come back with that controller. So yeah, I'm like, that's in the back of my mind. It's on standby, but I'm only going to buy that $80 controller. I'm not going to drop $300-400 for this flight stick. Especially if this game does, especially if it doesn't have some kind of multiplayer mode. I don't know. You know what? I need to look at that. Hold on, folks. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I had to PLO, you said you played Ace Combat 7 VR mission at Comic-Con. It was awesome. Oh man, why you had to mess with me like that? Okay, I'm going to get it, but okay. Made the decision that much faster. So, and it looks like the game has got some kind of online mode. I'm looking at it. It says VR mode is available on the PlayStation 4 and features special content not seen in the campaign and online modes. Play exclusive missions, watch air shows, and experience what it's like to be a pilot, by taking off and landing on the ground or warships. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, I mean, if they had a VR mode, I'm assuming that again, it might be a situation where the hardware is limited. And if they probably would have tried to make an online mode for the VR, it probably would have been a broken mess. See, all that kind of shit ain't gonna get sorted out until next generation. But still, I'm still looking forward to it. You said Impatient Fire might end up being your game of the year if Cyberpunk, Ghost of Tsushima, and The Last of Us 2 don't release this year. Oh, those games are definitely releasing this year, in my opinion. They got to get them out of the way to get ready for the PS5. Oh, with that being said, I'm going to get ready to wrap this up because, like I said, it looks like we're going to do the roundtable podcast. I need to run to the store to grab a couple of things to before we do the roundtable podcast. And you know how it is with the roundtable podcast. These podcasts can go anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. I don't plan on being on that long. I want to play some more Firewall tonight. Actually, the possible rumor of a Navy Seal Socom, coming next generation kind of got me hyped and makes me want to jump in there and shoot some more people on Firewall. And we had an awesome team today. We was tearing up shit. I think we had won like 8 out of I think we had won like 7 out of 8 matches or something like that before I got disconnected. You said, tell Thrash, do what you do. Because he does it. That's what I will do. I will tell him to do what you do because he does it. All right, Wraith, we'll see at the round table. PLO, for VR, there is only 3 VR missions: an air show you can only watch and free flight. I thought I had heard that there was supposed to be, like, rumor had it that there was supposed to be about 10 VR missions. I mean, I'm still going to get it, but so with that being said, let me go ahead and wrap it up, y'all. So I can take care of business before the round table. Impatient Fire, even if there's only 3 VR missions, who's to say that they won't add more if the game's a success? Who's to say that they won't add any more? All right, Impatient Fire, I'll catch you at the round table as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here. Run to the store. I got to pick up some more. I'm just about out of mango juice. I got to go grab some mango juice. Oh my God, mango and ginger ale. Woo, shit. PS5, at least 2020, in my opinion. They got to hype it up for a while. J-Dog, we'll talk about that again on my next podcast. So the one I played was worth the price of admission. PLO. All right, cool. I'll take you at your word. I'm looking forward to it. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Give it a like, y'all. Like the door. I will see y'all at the round table. In the meantime, thank you, everybody, for coming to Wakanda. I'll see y'all in a little bit.